Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, just promoted to assistant manager at Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire, it's Shane Beauregard. How are you, sir?
I am doing good. That's a job I did not accept, by the way. That's
Yeah, that's a toughie, You show up for orientation, nobody's there, there's blood on the walls, there's a stop sign in the basement. What are we doing? Who the hell is to know? You're just like, there's a lot of cleanup to do. Are we even open? Well, good to see you, sir. It is an amazing time if you're a horror fan to see at least so many opportunities to see horror movies, with Backrooms and Obsession being 1-2 at the box office, beating out stuff like Star Wars, Mandalorian, and Grogu. How do you feel about at least that?
I feel
Shane?
great about that. I feel great.
Yeah. This is kind of what we talked about earlier, like maybe episodes ago, where I was like, the counter programming is there. And I love it when now the counter programming is taking over the stuff that was a blockbuster thing, but isn't doing as well. It kind of is like changing of the guard a little bit. And whether you like these movies or not, you at least have to be encouraged that the people who are coming out to see these movies are young, eager to be in the theater, and are choosing non-franchise IP new ideas.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I am loving the box office right now.
So this week, Shane, in that spirit, we are going to do a horror roundup of sorts. I pitched it to you as the good, the bad, and the ugly. You were like, well, I don't know about that first one, but we will see. I personally call it the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I also did not see one of the films. So we are going to do a 3-pack here, a trio of horror movies, 2 that are currently out in theaters and 1 streaming option new to Hulu. That will be Backrooms. We're going to do Passenger, and then we will finish with Psycho Killer, whether we both like it or not. So let's start off with the biggie, sir.
Okay.
Backrooms won the weekend. It made $118 million worldwide, 81.5 domestic. That is insane territory. That is like borderline, biggest domestic open of the year territory. That is close to like Project Hail Mary Michael territory. So is this, it's more or less, is it like a combination of like horror is just so big? Like, did it work better because people already like jazzed for Obsession that now this was the next big thing and they did that? Or is it because we got 2 YouTube sensations back to back? There's so many elements here that I'm encouraged that it kind of just works, where, like I said, younger crowd encouraged to see these people who they have a relationship with. And now here we are. And Backrooms is even more pointed because Obsessions, those guys were making a lot of like sketches, not necessarily more in the comedy vein instead of the horror vein. Backrooms is based on the director here, Kane Parsons, a 20-year-old coming off of being mostly a YouTube director. He made this as a web series, and then it was written for the screen by Ash vs. Evil Dead screenwriter Will Sudik, and like I said, directed by Kane Parsons, both bringing this to the screen with a cast that features Chiwetel Ejiofor, Renata Reinsve, Mark Duplass, Finn Bennett, our lovely Lukita Maxwell from Shrinking, who we love so much, as Kat, and working with an excellent cinematographer, Jeremy Cox, who did Keeper and works a lot with Osgood Perkins. So there's a lot to love, especially if you're a cinephile, if you're into the YouTube stuff. There's a lot of things that kind of click a lot of boxes, and I think that's why this worked so well, at least at the box office wise. Do you kind of echo those sentiments, or do you see something else?
No, I agree mainly with the YouTube part, because my daughter wants to see this movie and she knew all about like her whole school knows about the YouTube series. My coworker, who's like a gamer, knew it from the video game back in the day. I guess in the 90s, it was a video game that got turned into a YouTube series, and now is a movie. So I think it gained a
so like the Iron Lung situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it gained a lot of momentum from the YouTube series.
Right. And then you got somebody like A24 backing
Yep.
you, put in somebody like I thought of you. I'm like, the two leads here are the Shane looks at them and goes, I'm not pronouncing either of
Correct.
those names, all stars. And I was like, I was like, this is amazing to put them in this movie. But yeah, Renata Reinsva, who, you know, is coming off an Oscar nomination and is kind of becoming, you know, an indie darling of sorts between Worst Person in the World, Sentimental Value. Like her value just keeps rising and rising. And then we'll do something like this, which will make her, you know, broader appeal, not only a horror movie, but an American horror movie done by a young director. So it should be interesting for her value. This movie is an interesting one, to say the least. The plot reads for this one, Shane, which again, this is such a trippy movie, so it's probably not going to do the justice of what this movie actually feels like. But the plot reads, after a therapist patient disappears into a dimension beyond reality, she must venture into the unknown to save him. Now, I know from you that you were less impressed by this one. So I don't know if you want me to go first or what, but I will say at least the vibes on this one, a lot of people are liking it, so take that for whatever it is. But for me, I'm watching this and I kept like kind of going, this feels like this. Like I don't know if you have certain comps in your head, but when I first started watching, I was like, this feels like Poltergeist meets Alice in Wonderland, and then as it kept going, it's like, oh, with a touch of like Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine, and then it has kind of like a smidge of Smiles ending in here a little bit, especially when we get to see what the creature lurking around is and everything else, which we get into that. But I feel like this movie definitely has the look and feel of something that I should have grabbed onto more. I like this. I didn't love it, but I could get into what I did or did not. But what did you see here? Because you seem to be less gripped on this one.
I am totally less script on this one. I think this movie was a lot of hype that just fell flat. Now, I will back that up and say conceptually and visually, I like this movie.
Yeah,
Those are the only positives I have, though. Outside of the performances by the two leads, and other than
sure.
that, that's it. Not to say I don't like to watch smart movies or like to think and ponder and process movies when I'm done. I'm not just like the dumb guy watching action films all the time, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I do not want to have to go to Google or ChatGPT and find out, hey, what are all these metaphors mean in this movie? Is it loneliness,
Sure.
anxiety, transition, lost and meaningless, like which is what this movie kind
Right.
of is. But
Right.
where this movie loses me, it was to me, it was a little too long. It was boring. I don't even consider this movie a horror movie, to be honest with you. I really don't at all. You want to
No.
call it a psychological
Like,
thriller? That's fine.
yeah, that's true.
Suspense, something like that, perfectly okay with me.
Yeah.
Um, I just where it loses me is the company that Mark Duplass is involved in. It's like they leave
Yes.
nothing explained, which is okay, but it's like my comp to this when I got done is like movies that like make my mind because I was riding with this movie trying to figure out where it was going. And there's a director called Shane Carruth who back in the early
Mm.
2000s did Primer, and then he did a movie called
Yes.
Upstream Color. Both those movies
Hmm.
left me utterly confused at the end. And that's how I felt when I walked out of this movie. Like when it ended, I'm like, okay, that was the movie. I just was so underwhelmed with the writing and just like some of the character development in this. But again, conceptually, the way it looks, the design, and the performances were really good. And it does give you that chilling, atmospheric, kind of like claustrophobic kind of feeling.
Right.
It just didn't have that hit, didn't have that punch for me.
I think I agree with most of what you said, pretty much, if not all of it. I think the world building, the production design, the cinematography are the standouts, along with especially Ejiofor's performance. The mental health, creating neural pathways concept, it only took me so far. And I think that while it is smart, I don't think even if I looked up more, that makes it a better story,
Right.
nor does it make a better ending. And I think that it gave me imagine if Cabin in the Woods level explanation ending, but not funny or fun in any way, just kind of like, so this happened to you,
Mhm.
and that's what this is.
Yep.
Um, so and the fact that, like I said, it's inventive in what it's doing. I was very intrigued. I don't know if that intrigue paid off as much as I wanted it to be. And as far as, that from like the sit down dinner scene, we'll call it, on with the rest of the movie, I think that's because it takes away a lot of the suspense. You're just kind of just living in it
Yeah.
from there on out. So it will kind of suck out a lot of the suspense and thrills and kind of you're almost kind of laughing. And in a way, I thought, like, is this like a point at AI at a minute there too, especially like how the memory and what these creatures look like and created, where it's like nothing ever is as how as you think, even if you describe it and know it, and your memory goes and all these things, like all these kind of trippy, heady, conceptual things. I chewed on it all. It didn't make the story any better for it in the experience. I'm sure many people maybe who eat up that stuff maybe a little bit more would do it. But this is one of those movies that I think is, again, high concept, super impressive for a 20-year-old, and has a lot of momentum going behind it. So I understand the success. I just wonder if this turns into kind of having the legs that Obsession seems to be having, or even some of these other movies that we've liked this year that have been like surprise successes. I would understand this one less because I will say, as I was leaving the theater, the people who I thought were more fair weather horror or people who are there because it looked creepy and, if you watch the trailer, it's a lot of intrigue. And then they show like Renata Reinsve with, blood all over her face and, running for her life down all narrow hallway or passageway or whatever. Yeah, those are gonna grab you and people are gonna go see this movie. I wanna see what kind of tail or lack of legs or whatever you wanna call it, how that's gonna go forward, because I saw people come out of this going almost like you, like, "What," like, literally, "What the hell was that?" And then shaking their heads and walking out of the theater. So, I don't think it's gonna have the impact because we noted with Obsession, it's a basic
Mhm.
uh, but successful one, and that I think is gonna work in its favor to get people to come over and over, or at least the word of mouth to spread easier. This one, listen, man, it already made its money
Oh,
and
yeah.
then some, so I don't think anyone's gonna complain. And again, kudos to A24 who keeps taking swings with people from YouTube or people from different franchise type things in their mind and really taking some swings and having it work for them. So I applaud all of that. I just think for this one, I was just like, it's good. I admire things, but I couldn't get my arms around it the way people are just like really loving it.
Yeah, it's the subplot points too. Like I said, with the whole company, it's like, yeah, you did MRI machines, but the fuck are you doing now? Like, you didn't even explain like what you're trying to learn about the backrooms. And then I got lost
Right.
with the plot with the little girl with the construction thing all the time. Like, is that the therapist as a kid? Does she remember her house being
Yes.
torn down? And
Yes. Yes.
okay, whatever, man. Yeah, and at the end, I'm
But again, but what does that have to how does that match up? Where
right.
is this going?
That's what
Is
I
that
mean.
just making it because she has a little bit more intrigue about these
I
things? I
I
mean,
guess, man, but and I thought at the end, I'm like, you know
yeah.
what? It made the money. It definitely lends to like part two, like just to go further into the fucking back rooms if they wanted to and get
I
more into the
guess
company and y-
the company would have to be, more focused
right.
where something
But I
happens.
just
Yeah.
again, I echo everything you said. I think we're kind of on the same page with this. So underwhelmed, not worth the hype, confused, baffled, whatever you want to call it. I
Yeah.
ended up giving it just a straight 2.5.
Yeah, see, I'm higher on, I think, the like I said, the world building, the production design, kind of the creep factor, and a lot of the. I think it had me really going for like a long while. So I wouldn't compare this to say how I felt with Iron Lung, which I probably gave that score. I would say it has better value than that. I'm stuck probably between a 3 and 3.5. It's either like a strong 3 or a weak 3.5. But yeah, I did hope for more out of the story as it developed. So I think that's where I'm struggling to put it in maybe a higher category. Because again, for this year, there's not too many that are 3.5 and above, and
Mm-mm.
I'm reluctant to put it in that category. But I want to almost kind of encourage people to see this, to at least experience it, to like get it out there. But I've obviously they don't need my help in that regard, I guess. But I don't want to also tell people to not. It currently has a 3.4, which is far less than what Obsession was getting. So I think we're scratching the right itch. So I think, yeah, like I said, again, if I cheated, it would be a 3.25 without a doubt.
Okay.
So I'm like right in that dead zone, for lack of a better term. But did you kind of have that Cabin in the Woods a little bit feeling where you're kind of coming out of something to where, it's all bizarre, but then here's the only way we can explain this thing?
Yeah, but like you said, Kevin was did it in a much fantastical and funny and just awesome
Right.
way.
Yeah, like there's some real puppet mastering going on
Yeah.
versus
Exactly.
whatever we get here. But I agree. I will apply. This is probably the best I've liked Chiwetel Ejiofor maybe in a
In a
lot of
while,
things.
yeah.
He was really good.
He was, like I said, his performance was the both leads were just fantastic, especially him. But like,
Yeah. I'll even take the two younger cast, like your Jesus, Finn Bennett and Lukita Maxwell as the two kind of
teenage
one, the assistant manager, yeah, right, and then just the guy with the camera,
her boyfriend,
so
right.
yeah, I thought that scene was probably the height of the movie.
Yeah.
When they go in, they're tying each other to the bed, they're feeding them down into that room. Because I don't know what this says about me or whatever. Have you ever done like adventure stuff where like you go to like, oh, there's an old mental hospital that's been shut down for 20 years. Let's go check it out, kind of a
Yep.
thing? Yeah. I had that feeling when I saw them kind of going down that ramp into that room full of just nonsense, like an abandoned
Laundry
thing,
room, yeah.
that kind of, and it's like it smells, and you're like, I don't know where we are, what we're doing, but this has to mean something, kind of a thing, and then it goes horribly wrong. I had that vibe, so I think that scene was probably
The
the
best,
peak,
it was the peak.
and then it didn't pay off as much as it went through. So again, worth watching, probably listed as the good of what we're going to talk about, but not something to where I think it's going to have the legs or the impact of your Obsession or any, even Send Help, which I know you really like, or Bone Temple or something else that it got me way more jazzed than I got out of this movie. If we want to skip to the bad here, before we get to the ugly, let's talk about Passenger, sir, because you saw this in the theater and you were like, hey, were you heading to that one? Because you might want to rethink it. Why should I rethink Passenger, Shame? Because this movie is actually kind of a quiet success. I don't know anyone besides you who have seen this movie, and yet it made $25 million for this very simple movie, a movie that I saw the trailer 1 billion times. But set this up for us, and then maybe where it went wrong for you.
Yeah, it's a very simple setup. The two leads, Jacob Scipio and Lou LaBelle, who I'm not familiar with either one of them. Anyway,
I only recognize Melissa Leo's name of the cast.
Yep. She was in it in a couple scenes, but this movie starts off. The first scene is the trailer scene. You see these two friends in a car. They get on that, like they stop, and this entity attaches itself to the car. And what happens? These two leads, they end up pretty much helping one of them because they decide that they want to live in a van down by the river. No, just kidding. They do want to live in a van and just like coast.
So it's a sequel to Nomadland?
Yeah, and just kind of coast and just drive down and just live off the grid. And
right.
they're gonna get married, and they help this guy out, and they end up stopping, and then the entity kind of attaches himself to their vehicle. And at first, Maddie, that's the name of the lead female, is the only person that can see this person. He's called like the
Right.
Highwayman or something like that. So the whole movie, they're trying to figure out like what's going on, how do they get rid of this Highwayman curse, and
Right.
this movie was an hour and a half, but it felt like I was in there for 3 hours. Like it was
Right.
so mind-numbingly boring. Like it was, yes, it's a horror movie. I'll give it that, but like nothing. I'm not even kidding. Nothing like really happens until like the last 15 minutes of this movie. There are
Mm.
a couple jump scares. We see the demon highwayman at the very end ish of this movie. Other than that, he's like in the shadows. Um, it was just a very boring, slow paced, non horror horror film. Like, just was a total waste of my time. Now, I will give credit to two leads that I'm not familiar with. They did a fine job. They had good chemistry together as this couple, as they're trying to like get this curse off them. Melissa Leo is a character they meet at this camp that all these vans stop at, and they kind of mingle, and they have shops set up, and she kind of knows of the curse, so she try to help some out here and there. But
Right.
that's about it. There's no memorable kills. There's like one, I think there's like two, and that's really about it, man. Like again, nothing happens like the last 15 minutes. This felt like, and I hate to say this, like one of those Netflix movies they put in October.
Mm.
Netflix and
Yeah,
chill.
especially years ago when they used to just toss some random thing that you
That's
never heard
what
of,
this
and
felt
yeah.
like. This was just so boring, and I almost walked out. I literally got to a point where I almost walked out of this movie.
Yeah. Have you looked at the scores for this one? Because I didn't look at that. Is it doing any better than the next one that we're
It
about to
surprisingly
rip apart?
is, but I get it because
Yeah.
it has that supernatural tinge to it. The leads are charming. It's a familiar folklore kind of tale. Um, so it has like elements that I know why people are drawn to it. And
Yeah.
I just, but for the life of me, I think it was like a 58% or 60 something percent. So it's right on that fresh line on Rotten Tomato. IMDb has it as 5.6.
Yeah, and
Um,
Metascore's got a 52. So yeah, it's kind of hovering around that meh
it's
territory.
definitely mad. But as far as a horror fan goes, or a supernatural horror fan, I ended up giving this movie a 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's
just
rough.
bad and
Yeah.
boring, man. Just stay home and watch something. Just watch anything else.
Well, you might want to bite your tongue there, Shane, because I did stay home to watch something. We will get to our streaming option here, Psycho Killer, which was a movie that I only watched because when I saw the trailer and we did our horror kind of preview episode months ago, I said to you, like, man, this trailer is awesome. It's got the writer of Seven, Andrew Kevin Walker, whatever his name is. And I was just like, this could be batshit. It's got, you're seeing like devil worship and nudity and this, that. Like that trailer is so well cut. That person now seeing this movie should win whatever their trailer Oscars is for the fact that he got me so hyped for a movie that it paid off none of it and was so bland and boring for something that should have at least be intriguing on some level, but it was so ho-hum and almost cartoony and self-serious at the same time that I just couldn't do anything with this movie. I just wanted it to end so badly. And the further it went along, it was like inventing stuff all the time between like a cult, uh, some kind of church cult thing that happened years ago, and then there's 3 Mile Island stuff going on with a hole in the earth and like all this. I was just like, stop, just end this fucking movie. It was so dumb, and everything was exposition. And like every time they turned on a TV like 80,000 times in this movie, and every time they happen to be talking about the same thing we're experiencing every time. So I was just like, this is convenient. This is lazy. I just could not wrap my mind around it. You caught this too because we're idiots. So let me know what you thought about Psycho Killer, because you said you actually maybe even like would have put this in the bad versus the ugly.
I would have. It's not I would have compared to Passenger. I'm not saying it's leaps and bounds.
Right.
Right now,
Right.
for the listening audience out there, Andrew, of course, wanted to go the good, bad, the ugly. I wanted to do the bad, ugly, and uglier. So it's not like I had praise for all three of these movies, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, this movie was stupid on all levels involved, right? Like it just was bad. Like you said, it had him going on this murder, satanic killing spree, and then it dissolved into him like getting narcotics and opiates. They never explain why. Then he's drinking blood
Nope.
out of priests. Why? I don't know.
Yep.
And then the
Nope. I
whole
have no idea.
he wants to blow up a nuclear facility. Okay, because he wants to open the gates of hell. No, then you missed out on the whole Malcolm
Okay.
McDowell scene. That was weird.
Real weird.
But
and then when he escaped and how
yes, okay, so
awkward that exchange was.
It is bad.
Shane, it had one of the funniest things that I could possibly think of in this movie too, not to stop you there, but did you at least get a chuckle in a dark way of seeing a masked serial killer at a payphone in the age of cell phones, buying an ad in a newspaper and having to like sit there, go like, yeah, I have my card information.
Yes.
And like, yes, it's M lowercase, uppercase, space, like really like every detail of what he's putting in there. Not necessary, super dumb, and something that you would never see any serial killer do in your life.
Yeah, it was dumb. Like I said, on all levels.
Real dumb.
The lead actress was okay. Yeah, I mean, she was okay. But again,
I mean, everybody is bad, but I think it's the direction's fault.
This is why I give this movie just a slight nidge above Passenger. One, at least you had a physically imposing villain that you saw a lot, right? And you had some good kills in there.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I'm giving it more than Passenger. You have like a character that you could have done something better with, but he was so big, so imposing, and that mask was creepy and just weird. And
I thought that was the best part, is his look.
Yeah, his look was awesomely just frightening.
Yeah.
It's for that reason only that I'm giving it a higher nudge than Passenger. And that's it.
That's insane.
Now, for you people listening, if you want to see, and I've said this before, I think when we were talking about seeing this in the movie theater, we saw the trailer for it. Go see, find it somewhere streaming. Go see I Saw the Devil. It's the same exact plot points of this movie. The same, but done in the most fantastical South Korean way you could ever imagine.
Right.
That's what I'll say. Now, I think this might be the first in our history. I'm giving this a strong 2.
Strong 2.
If I have to give Passenger a 2, I'm giving this one a strong 2. Or maybe Passenger a weak 2 and just give this one a 2. Either way, they're both 2s, but they're slightly different level 2s.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking here, and I will say this movie is maybe the first movie of the year that I was like, it has no redeeming value, and that it's the worst movie I've seen this year. And so to that end, the worst movie before that I saw had a 2 rating. So either I agree with you that it's a 2 or I go lower. Those are my only options. So you're not going to get anything better out of me. I will say this is a 1.5 because it's fucking dreadful. Just to make a point, this is dreadful. Because
totally understand.
I was sitting there going, like, the minute she's pregnant, where we don't have any kind of, it's like, of course she is, and it's so out of nowhere. The Malcolm McDowell thing. You even said like, oh, it had good kills. There were kills in here where almost every single one I was like, that's CGI blood.
Oh yeah,
that looks ridiculous. That looks terrible. And it was so, again, we've talked about this a lot lately, broadly lit, look like shit, where it could have used a little, at least some kind of style, some intensity, for what this plot is. So either you could have used music, cinematography help, any of it, just to kind of give its, subject a little bit of an edge. I don't know what this movie was trying to get me to feel or do. It was just like, was the script written in crayon because it was like so basic that it felt like a 13-year-old's attempt at like writing a script for the first time. And I'm like, how the hell is this from the writer of Seven? And if I'm not mistaken, also The Killer.
Yeah.
The other Fincher movie.
Yeah.
Because he's worked with Fincher multiple times. So I'm like, a guy who I've liked his work a lot, I have no idea why this is this bad.
Maybe he was on
and especially, like I said, the trailer was impressive.
Maybe he was on opiates and psychedelics and drugs.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe this is his true story. He's just like opening up. Yeah. This is like if 8mm was even worse, and then Toss in Your Eyes Saw the Devil and all those things. So yeah, it's rough. It's real rough. So yes, I will say it loud and proud. Worst movie I've seen this year. Psycho.
And I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah. But it's a strong 2. Love you still the same, buddy. Great episode as always. This is your horror roundup for as we launch into June, and we still have a bunch more still for the rest of the year to look forward to. Is there anything in particular? Like, are you still just it's Zach Kreger and everybody else, or is there anything else piquing your interest maybe coming up sooner?
No, Zach Kreger and everyone else at this point.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So hoping for maybe more as we get here. I know we got a different kind of scary movie that we could talk about maybe next week with the Wayans coming back. But I think our center focus will be on Masters of the Universe. As a reminder, Shane and I were both on The Pint, a pop culture podcast. I believe your episode might come out before mine, but I covered the 1987 Master of the Universe, and Shane covered a different Dolph Lundgren vehicle, I Come in Peace.
I Come in Peace. Or look it up, Dark Angel.
Dark Angel, yes. So not the Jessica Alba vehicle. Yeah, very different on that one. So be sure to check out The Pint. Be sure to like and subscribe our podcast so you don't miss a thing. And we will get into He-Man and all of our favorite character friends this time next week. Hearing good things. Hopefully that holds up. We'll see you next time on Recent Activity.